5-gallon taquitos or something like that.
Nah, 5-gallon blue milk.
5 gallons of tequila, maybe. I don't know if you could drink a taquito.
I don't even know what a taquito is. I thought it was a drink.
No.
Rolled fried taco, essentially.
Oh, gee. Well, he might be
Inhaling those, yes.
Maybe drinking, not so much.
Well, he has a Rancor. I'm sure he could. Oh, hey, we're live.
We are live. You guys are sitting here talking about drinking, and we're live.
Well, I mean, this is the Geek Easy. We're supposed to be a speakeasy deal, so drinking is a thing.
Yeah.
Drink them if you got them.
Well, welcome to Geek Easy, everybody. Tonight's show, we have a special guest, Gregg Paulsen. Did I say that right?
Right.
All right, and you would be the co-creator and the artist of Ironclad, a independent comic that is being released soon, yes?
Right now, it seems to be probably looking at a very early summer release.
Cool. Well, we are going to do our little disclaimer and opener, and when we come back, we will talk more with Gregg and other things. And if he wants to hang out with us for that, it's all good. Gregg, you good for hanging out, or you just want to talk about your comic
Absolutely.
and go?
I've got nothing but time on my hands tonight.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's see. Let's do this whole disclaimer thing, and we'll be right back.
The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. The opinions expressed do not reflect this station or any affiliated partners. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geek Easy.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing.
I don't like Discord.
Yeah, I was going to say that was really struggling tonight.
It's either my internet connection or something. It's just the way Discord connects to the internet or something. It just doesn't like it, because even my YouTube is acting up right now and saying that our video output is low.
Hmm.
We're not hardly putting any video out.
Yeah, I know. But that's neither here nor there at this point, because everything seems to be working better. I mean, we've only dropped 193 frames out of 4,000, so.
We got Firefly in the Twitch chat. I don't know if we have anybody in the YouTube chat. We tried promoting the hell out of this last minute. I admit, kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah, this was your baby, so.
We also have somebody named Electrical Skateboard in the Twitch chat.
Sweet. I'm not sure what that is.
It's a.
It would lead to a lot of, shocking incidents.
There's a lot of electric skateboards out there now.
Really?
Yeah.
Big sparks? That would be kind of cool then.
Huh?
I was just wondering, if an electric skateboard, does it make sparks and such? That'd be kind of cool then.
True.
Nobody knows. Wolfie, you're the expert. Find out.
As far as I know, they're usually just battery powered with electric motors.
Oh, no, I thought it was just actual skateboards that had, running lights and things like that or something. You let me down, Wolfie.
No, it's just a modern variant on the old gas-powered skateboards.
which just sounds dangerous in and of itself.
I honestly haven't seen a gas-powered skateboard in over 20 years.
I've never seen one. But yeah, Adam.
Yes.
Sorry, we kind of took over, so
go ahead, take over. Just do what you're gonna do. I'll just sit here in the corner kicking the cat.
Well, we just shooting the breeze about electric skateboards, and frankly, we got other things we can be discussed. I mean, we got Rebels, although Alistair offline kind of nixed that for now, unless you guys want to talk about it very generally.
No, you know what? We'll wait. I mean, the series is over. It's not like we're going to be spoiling it for everybody, but I mean, you got to catch up.
Besides, we need more time to process the feels.
The feels. Black Panther's still the thing we can talk about.
Infinity War toys have dropped, which, according to my wife, because she works in the retail industry, they were given the thing from Hasbro and from Marvel that it was supposed to drop last week. So they're supposed to hit shelves. If you have not checked them out, check them out on the Geek Easy Facebook page, because I think I saw all of them. Shocked the crap out of me.
Let's see what else. Yes, there's a Kickstarter for a Street Fighter Minis game. We can kind of talk about that briefly. I think most importantly, we have, as mentioned before, our special guest.
And Princess Leia is getting her own Star Wars manga.
That's an odd segue there, Wolfie.
Yeah,
are you saying Greg's a princess?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
I'll take that compliment. I've been called worse. I've been called worse things.
I'm a pretty, pretty princess. Wow, that sounds really bad with the way my voice is.
It does. Greg, before I let this loose to the internet and onto the stream, I did grab a couple of images, hopefully that you don't mind me sharing, from the fan page, finished art.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Just making sure, because I don't want to have these go out there and you go, oh my God, don't put those out there yet. But
no, that's fine. That's okay.
It's only 3 or 4 images and a picture of you, so everybody knows what you look like.
I actually saw some of them. Yeah, they look fine.
Cool.
Well, then, how about we just jump into that? No point leaving Greg hanging. Rubbing his hands. So, I'm kind of sort of part of the creative team insofar as that I help do the flats on this. But Greg here's the man who's been on it since the beginning.
Flatter.
Exactly.
Basically 20 years from start to finish.
Holy cow. How do you...
This project has a very, very long, odd history.
I get bored with doing stuff that takes me more than 3 weeks, which is why I don't do comic books.
If I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many times this thing started, stopped, retooled again, started, stopped, and then started it again.
Okay, well, I am woefully ill-prepared for this because I actually know literally nothing about your book, aside from the artwork looks really awesome. So, why am I not hearing him? Anybody else having issues hearing him?
I think it's kind of
okay.
Yeah.
You're lighting up. I think Discord's being stupid right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He's roboting from time to time for me, or staticky.
Dude, we're all roboting.
Yes, we all are all roboting. Maybe get closer.
I will do what I can. Let's see, bring it. Is that a little better?
That's a little bit better.
A little bit better.
I have it just about like 4 inches from my face right now.
Let's try this again then. Give us a rundown on the book itself and the plot and the story without giving too much away, if you could.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, essentially.
Yes.
The book is an all-ages action adventure, which was very intentional. I wanted this book pretty much to reach all the inner 12-year-old boys of adult males, essentially. But little girls like it too. My 10-year-old daughter really digs it. But the Cliff Notes version of the book and plot, it's about a 12-year-old boy who gets a hold of is used to protect the Earth from a alien dictator coming to invade.
Boy, that is really cutting out on my end.
Yeah, it's Discord. It's not us. This is what happens when we stream through Discord. The artwork style. That's all you, right?
It's 100% me, start to finish. Originally, I had planned on inking the book too, but I really just wanted to focus on the pencils part of things. So I went through 2 different inkers to actually start the book. Mikey Babinski was my original inker. He's inked books at Marvel and DC, and he's an old friend of mine. He was originally going to do it. He got 2 pages in, and DC offered him Wonder Woman, so he left.
I would too. No offense.
Yeah, I didn't fault him at all. But then another buddy, Mark Stegbauer, who I've known quite some time too. He's an inker for Marvel, DC, Image, Nova at Marvel, and other books too. He contacted me once he found out Mikey had left to ask if I needed any help inking, and he kind of picked up the reins and inked every page except page 1 and 5 of the book. Other than that, that's all Mark by Mikey, but the rest of the book was inked by him.
Now you do it all old school, right? These are actual pencils.
Pencils. I don't do anything digitally except layouts. I'll do layouts digitally. I kind of fall in love with Manga Studio, and I have I just recently, about a year and a half ago, got a graphics monitor called a UG monitor. It's kind of like a low-end Cintiq, essentially.
Yeah, I have a Innova, which works very well for me.
And the UG monitor works great. I love it. I'm glad I dropped the money for it. It was kind of expensive, but it wasn't astronomical like the Cintiq seemed to be.
Yeah.
Layouts digitally because I like to manipulate things in the layout stage, and I print out the layouts at 11 by 17, light box them onto Bristol board and an F lead pencil and go to town.
That is just, it's cool because I was looking there, going through the fan page, and I'm looking at some of the pencils. I'm like, oh, that's awesome to see old school pencils. I have not put a piece of paper or a pencil to a piece of paper to draw anything in close to 3 years. I think it's been 3 years since I got this. About 3 years, 3 or 4 years since I got the tablet. And from there on out, it was Photoshop all the way and Illustrator.
And I'm very dumb and slow to learn new art styles, especially digital. I'm one of those, cranky old men who, I only draw with pencil and paper, and I'm still that way, but I've come around a little bit to digital. I don't think I'll ever do a fully digital art piece. I never say never for the most part, but intensive. So I don't know what it takes to time for it.
It's not. I've realized going back and forth. It's actually faster at times because you can do everything right there. You can do all your layouts. You can do all your blue line. Then you can go in and if you want to make your cleaner pencils, and then you go over your clean pencils, and then it's all one file. It's all just layers. And whether or not you're using, I think, Manga Studio, Photoshop, or what's the other one that's out there? What's the one that you use, Tank?
Well, there's quite a few different ones. I use PageShop Pro, trying to transition to Photoshop. GIMP has layers.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a standard amongst those kind of programs. There's Psy. That's another one.
Yes.
I guess my only issue with digital, and this is where the cranky old man in me comes out, but it's almost flawless as far as art goes, because I don't know, when you draw something traditionally, you know, you pencil something, you ink something, what have you, mistakes there. You know, in digital, you can quickly erase it and, you know, fix it fairly quickly. Now, granted, you can fix things, you know, in pencil and ink with whiteout and stuff like that, but I don't know, there's just something, to me, just something feels more natural, the actual piece of paper in front of you, rather than, you know, a digital file.
Yeah, it's the tangible thing. It's why I like Blu-rays and not digital file.
Mhm.
Like
I get it. You know, I get the people that do it like it. That's fine. You know, I don't begrudge those guys anything. Just for me, just, you know, a real piece of paper, a real pencil, and, you know, banging something pretty cool out.
No, I mean, I don't want to sit here and pat my own back. These guys have seen my work. I mean, it's like, because I'm self-taught in Photoshop and Illustrator and all those things. I didn't take any formal classes on it. The only formal class I had in Photoshop was for Photoshop 1 back in college when it first came out. And even then, it was just like, look at this, but there's only so much you can do. Now, because I don't use all the techniques that are out there. I've got the books and stuff on how to draw comics digitally. I don't use it like that. I went and I found and made pencils for Photoshop that look natural, that act naturally. I don't use line smoothing or anything for it. The only time I'll actually use a pen tool in Photoshop to clean up a line is when I'm using it to do like mechanical stuff that it's just easier to do straight lines with. But I try to keep it as natural as possible. I don't know whether or not people can tell the difference between when I've drawn something digitally and when I've drawn something on paper.
Seen digital pieces, you know, digital pencils from people, and I have a little bit of trouble telling, but there's always something I see, and I don't know, I can't ever pinpoint it, but I see something in digital pencils that make me go, yeah, that's digital.
It's clean.
And every time anytime anybody showed me a piece of digital art, they say, look at my digital pencils. And then I point out something, you know, I see something that you can tell the difference. You really can if you're really looking.
You really can, and this is why when I saw that you were doing natural pencil or like pencils on paper, that's another thing that gives the book its look. I mean, this is inks on paper and stuff, and just going through the artwork, like I said, dude, it's blowing my mind. I was like, this is actually really, really well done. No offense, I have seen some indie comics that made me go, oh, please stop.
Both.
Yeah, there's definitely a few out there.
Yeah. It's like, yes, your art teacher in high school told you were good. That doesn't mean you're good.
You know, though, I don't. It's kind of the point now. I mean, I've been doing.
Did we drop?
No, he dropped. It's Discord. It's the voice activated stuff, I think.
Probably.
More power to him.
Oh, hey, he's back.
And
he's back, sort of.
Hate to say it, Greg, but you were talking there, and apparently we didn't get any of it.
Oh, wow. Okay, wonderful. We're talking about the seeing artwork, independent artwork and independent comic books that look really bad. You know, I see a lot of it, and I don't begrudge those guys the way I used to. I was a lot younger. You know, 20 years ago when I started, I used to begrudge those guys a lot. But why you guys didn't give up? Stop drawing. You don't know what the hell you're doing, all this other stuff, and it's going to point. The older I've gotten, the more I don't begrudge those people. It's like, you know what? They're at least giving it a shot.
True.
It's more than a lot of people are doing. They're just sitting on the sideline who just critique all that stuff. You know, they're giving it a go. If it works out for them, great. If it doesn't work out for them, at least they tried. You know.
Okay.
So I'm
going to change something really quick. Hopefully, it fixes this issue at the moment.
Go ahead. I apologize to everybody out there. We know there's audio issues, and it's not us. It's the software that we're having to use to actually broadcast, and we're working on it.
We're hitting it with a hammer.
As hard as humanly possible.
Okay, I've cut the bitrate down to 64. Let's see if that does anything.
breaking up a lot with when I was talking.
Yeah, we noticed there seems to have some issues with the voice activated version versus just push to talk. And it also just might not enjoy or like your mic because it might be picking up too much around it. I don't know.
Shut off in my studio right now. So with the exception of a light and my computer, and I don't have any music playing or a movie or anything playing in the background. So
is there any way that you could set it up to push to talk, or is voice
I can try. I don't see why not. Let me see what I can do
here. And that's the last we heard of him.
Yeah.
No, Greg!
He disappeared. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, I had a question, and Adam, you could probably answer this as well. I know, Greg, you said that you try not to begrudge other indie comic people their books, but does it bother you when somebody like Walt Flanagan gets to work on stuff with DC simply because he grew up with Kevin Smith?
Absolutely. When I heard about that, I was angry. I was literally angry. I mean, granted, I'll tell you guys something right now that some people get and some people don't get. I guess up until I was about 22, 23, I wanted to work for Marvel. That's the only company I had no desire to work for DC Comics. I only wanted to work for Marvel. Now, right around the age of 22, 23, that went away as I started getting more and more interested in creating my own characters and doing my own thing. And I had a few inside guys at Marvel and DC, friends of mine were like, "Hey, Greg, if you do some samples, send them our way. We'll get you, we can see what we can do for you." I was like, "All right." And because of my laziness, I never did them. I was more interested in creating my own characters and just creating, writing and drawing my own characters. I just wanted to do that. So that's where I was for the longest time. That's where I've been ever since. I still have no desire to work for Marvel or DC. Especially nowadays, because Marvel's only hiring artists from Brazil and the Philippines because they could pay them, half of what they have to pay an American artist to do a comic book nowadays.
A significantly lower amount because for over there, it comes out to be a pretty good, paycheck. But they do produce some good stuff. We can't knock them that.
Yeah, I'm not knocking the artists,
but they are unfortunately cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking their fantastic talents over there, but Marvel is literally only hiring those guys for their books, and it's hard to get that kind of work. Hard to get work for American artists over here because Marvel is like, oh well, we have to pay an American artist $175 a page. We only have to pay the Filipino artist $70 a page. Who do you think they're going to go with?
Yeah, they're going to follow the pocketbook on that one.
Well, I was just wondering because I wouldn't say Walt's a bad artist, but I just when I saw that they let him draw Batman because he was friends with Kevin Smith.
I long for the 90s sometimes.
Oh, please bite your tongue.
No, I'm not biting my tongue at all. I long for them. I miss those days. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's just something sentimental about them. Comics were, in my opinion, at that time, just a lot of fun. I mean, comics to me nowadays aren't fun anymore. They're, as far as mainstream, like Marvel, DC, there's no fun in any of those books anymore, with the exception of right now. There's only 2 comic books I'm reading on a regular basis right now. One's from Marvel, one's from DC. Mark Waid's Captain America that just started again has been really good and a really fun read and really interesting read. And over at DC, DC's doing this Black Lightning miniseries that I found has some really great story and really great artwork too. So those are the only 2 comic books I read anymore. And I haven't bought comic books on a regular basis in probably 5 years from the big 2. Because it's just gotten to the point I don't care anymore. There's nothing about those kind of comic books that hold my interest, and I never thought it would be that way either. On average, from the 90s up until about 2010, I was spending anywhere from, I would say, $35 to $60 every week at the comic book store. And now I haven't spent that kind of money in a long time, and I don't think it's going to happen again.
And I think when we had Comfort and Adam on the show previously, they kind of sounded like they were saying similar things, that the mainstream is just they're not intriguing stories. They don't draw them in, things like that. I mean, there's certain bits that they like. There's certain stories that do come out that are decent, and art is obviously, they're getting good talent, but overall the stories and their focus on massive media events, crossing overs and whatnots is just not for them.
I did want to say real quick, since we mentioned him, our thoughts go out to Kevin Smith in light of his recent heart attack, and we hope he has a quick recovery.
Yes, hopefully he'll do well.
Ooh, I think I lost you.
Kevin Smith.
Not sure what happened. I'm going to leave for a second, guys. I will be back.
All right.
And Roland's also going to run away.
Roland got to go away?
Before I do that, I'm actually going to make a quick change. So, if you people listening over Twitch land and YouTube land, we may actually, Adam, you need to have a technical difficulties window.
Yes, I really do.
But yes, I'm going to make a quick change, and hopefully this fixes some of the other issues.
If it changed, I have no idea.
It should be instantaneous anyways.
It was pretty blasted quick, and things sound better.
Yeah, things do sound better. Hey, let's see about Greg now.
I don't know what you did, but it sounds much better.
I think he changed servers.
Yep, changed servers and reduced the audio bitrate. So hopefully that solves our issue.
All right.
Oh, hey, listen to that.
Wow.
So is it better now, I guess?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Roland
okay.
did a thing, and you did a thing. I mean, I think we've done things.
Okay, here we go. 40 minutes into it. Hey, welcome to the Geek.
Right, starting over.
No,
yep, starting over.
Restart.
But it's, I mean, it's the crafty thing about going live is you can't fix this stuff later. We could,
but unfortunately, it's still a case of we're still going through some new growing pains.
Yeah, new
Actually,
software.
I stepped out for a minute somehow. All of a sudden I was trying to do the push to talk thing, and that wasn't working. And all of a sudden all of my screens went away. I was like, oh no!
But yes, we hear
much
clearly.
Discord is one of those programs that's in eternal beta, and the teething issues pop up from time to time.
And apparently, we were on a bad server.
Yeah, bad server, and our audio bitrate was so ridiculously high that it's like, who set it up?
Alistair.
Ah.
Well, go ahead.
I think Alistair was messing with it when we were trying to get the music quality better.
14. I bought this when I was 17. I do get that way. So yeah, I actually do long for those days, because a lot of the times, in the 90s, I thought those comic books were a lot of fun.
They were fun. They were just horrible to look at.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. The art, I would say the art in about 80% of them was like, really, if they were right-handed, I would assume they were drawn with their left hand.
You have to understand, we have a ongoing feud with Rob Liefeld.
I have an ongoing feud with Rob Liefeld.
A story about Mr. Liefeld. I almost worked for him.
I'm sorry.
I almost worked for Rob back in 2008.
You escaped.
Yeah, luckily I was paid at least. 2008, Rob, after, I think it was right around the time Kirkman was starting to really get things going again, and talks bringing Rob back into Image right after like Walking Dead had really become super popular. Image, and he started his Extreme Studios stuff again because they did a Glory mini series, and the new Youngblood had just restarted again. So Rob thought he was, the Glory days were back. for him. So he was starting all of his Extreme books again.
Now, my thing with Liefeld is artists evolve. If you look at Jim Lee stuff from the 90s and you look at Jim Lee stuff from today, it's like two different people drew them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Rob has, if anything, Rob's devolved.
Yes. I mean, you look at Todd McFarlane's. I'm amazed. Todd McFarlane can still draw, and his stuff evolved, devolved, evolved, and then swung around sideways somewhere, but he's still a good artist, and he's a great storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
The thing...
Rob really... Here's what I will say about Rob. Love him or hate him, and I'm not going to lie. I'm gonna be 100%. I like Rob. I got to kind of quantify this.
Take your time.
It. And here's why I like it. Love him or hate him, comic books. He changed the face of comic books. He changed how we look at them. He changed how we read them. He changed them, good or bad.
That's true.
Now, there are guys out there who will defend Rob to the day they die, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm almost one of them. There are times. I mean, I know the man semi-personally.
Well, tell him to unblock me on Twitter.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm kidding.
That's all I'll tell you.
Once you're blocked by Rob Liefeld,
yeah, once you're blocked by Rob, you're blocked. You're done, basically. With Rob, I it's so frustrating, and I think I know where you're coming from with it. In that, Rob could have even bigger talent if he would grow, but he doesn't seem to want to grow. He's stuck in what he's stuck in, and right now the frame of mind he's stuck in is, hey, I created Deadpool.
Yeah, and that's why I got blocked.
Yeah, and he's milking the hell out of that right now. And you know what? I say more power to him.
I got blocked because... Yeah, so do I. But and I got blocked for bringing up the point to Rob Liefeld that you might have created Deadpool, but it was the other writers and artists that made Deadpool what he is today, because he was not the same character back then. And he blocked me.
I agree with you more with that statement. And he can say, yeah, basically what Rob came up with Deadpool was he came up with a costume and a name. That's about it.
And he copied Deathstroke, so
more or less. I mean, although in Deadpool's case, I mean, he never shuts up and he's kind of jokey. Okay, he's basically Spider-Man. Spider-Man if Spider-Man was an assassin.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, I was never a big Deadpool fan. Did I like the movie? Yeah, the movie was great. But Deadpool was a Mary Sue of a character. You couldn't kill him. Mm-hmm. You couldn't do anything to her. I mean, and it's like, oh, well, he's ugly underneath there and scarred. Yeah, and he wears a mask and he likes chimichangas. But he really was a Mary or a Gary Stu. He was like he was like Wolverine multiplied by 10. It's like Wolverine is very much a Mary Sue character or a Gary Stu character. It's just like you can't kill him, you can't do this. And then Marvel found a way to kill him anyway, but he's coming back. Yeah. And the only good thing about Wolverine is there were flaws there. Deadpool really didn't have any flaws aside from the fact that he was a wise ass.
I still am not the biggest fan of the character. I enjoyed the movie. I'm looking forward to the second one, but never thought he was a top tier character. To me, just Deadpool's just utterly annoying for the most part.
Yes. It's like all the bad parts of Spider-Man in a character.
Let's everything that people hate about Spider-Man, let's amp that up to about 11 and put it in this guy and let this guy kill people too on top of it.
And not be able to be killed.
He's a very, in my opinion, he's a very thin character. I mean, he's a one note character in my opinion. All he does, tells jokes and shoots stuff. Okay. Next. Like I said, Rob's riding that gravy train, and
actually, he gets kind of interesting when he interacts with Captain America because for some reason they get along really well.
Now, see, I wouldn't know that because like I said, I haven't read really any Marvel books in quite a long time, with the exception of this new Captain America series that's been coming.
I haven't read a whole lot of recent Marvel stuff, but for some reason, Wade has really big respect for Cap, and Cap is one of the few people that enjoys Wade's company apparently.
Wow. Or at least puts up with them, I guess.
I never would have expected that, but all right.
Well, on that note, though, I mean, since you said that there's issues with focusing on Deadpool as a character, he's pretty one-dimensional, and that you've basically just kept away from Marvel, buying the books, all that stuff. Is that basically what really drove you towards Ironclad, doing your own book?
Well, the whole thing, we're gonna go way back here. I got to start at the beginning with this.
All right, everybody, buckle in. The Wayback Machine's kicking on.
Much. It started back in '94, basically through Philip Hester. You don't know Philip Hester? He's a writer-artist. He's written books for Image, DC, Marvel. He's drawn books for all three companies on top of other independent companies. He's a wonderful guy, top worker, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, too, by the way, and an unbelievable artist and a wonderful writer. But at the time I met him, the actual meeting of him was '93 at a small comic book show in Iowa City. He had just started doing a couple issues of Marvel Comics Presents. Got the regular gig of penciling Swamp Thing for DC with Mark Millar writing. What got him the job drawing Green Arrow with Kevin Smith was his run on Swamp Thing. But anyway, when I met Phil later, I showed him my artwork at the time, but I was 16, and he saw potential in me, but he's like, you still need a lot of work, work on this, and this, and honest with him. I just kept talking to him, and and he invited me up to his apartment a couple of times, and then when he moved, I used to go to his house and help him on comics. He'd like put me to work when I would go in there, inking backgrounds or drawing a building or what have you in a book. He did that stuff for me constantly. To me on top of everything else. But I went up to visit him weekend, and he had just gotten a box of these trading cards in from this company called Triumphant, I think was the name of it. A series of trading cards called the Creators Universe, which they just had a bunch of comic book creators, characters they had, create your own characters. And Phil was part of it. And one of the characters, the character that Phil drew for this card set, was called Iron Horse, and he actually looked a lot like the way Ironclad looks. A few different things. Facially, it's basically Ironclad and Iron Horse look exactly the same. Phil was telling me at the time when he did this card set, he goes, "This is the next character I'm doing. I've been talking to a couple of different publishers about it, but this is the next thing I'm doing." I was like, "Oh, great!" Because but at the time, he's like, "I don't know if I want to draw it." So I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "I'm thinking about having like a buddy of mine or something draw it, but I don't know yet." Later, he asked me to do a pinup of Iron Horse fighting this big rock monster. Okay, sure. And I did this really, at the time I was 18 when I drew it. So I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever drawn. I sent it to him. He loved it. I went to visit him like maybe a week after I sent him that drawing, and my car broke down on my way up to visit him. And he lives about an hour and a half away from where I live. Yep, took me out to eat, and we went and actually asked me if I wanted to draw this Iron Horse book for him. He's found a publisher, which was Caliber Comics at the time. Published work. He goes, "I'll have a buddy of mine ink it too, and I'll write it, and everything will do." And I was excited. 18 years old, it's the first time I'm ever going to draw a comic book. It's all I've ever wanted to do all my life. And we did this little ash can, which was like basically a mini comic, essentially. And we have there's an Iron Horse ash can floating around out there that I drew. Good luck finding it. Hell, I don't even think I have a copy of it anymore.
It ran away.
Yeah, it's gone. Although I do have some of the pages of it. I just know I don't have a copy of it, any copies of it. And we made these little ash cans, and we sent them out and took them to a couple of conventions and shows. I think we made like 25 of them. They sold well, like locally. When we did local shows, people would pick them up. I think we were only selling them for $1. Then after that, nothing. The series never materialized, and nothing happened. Then cut to, I was, it's from 1995 to about 5 years later, 2000, Phil started doing Iron Horse. He started doing Iron Horse again, but I wasn't involved. That fell apart for him to do it again, but I found out Phil had used a lot of the concepts in Iron Horse and some other little stories he had been doing for Caliber Comics, this independent publisher, in this anthology series they were doing. Wanted to do Iron Horse. He's like, well, he goes, Greg, I'll let you have it. And he goes, I'm kind of done with it. I don't know anything else I want to do with it. He's like, I'll let you have it, but there's a few stipulations with it. I was like, okay. Like, one, we have to change the name. It can't be Iron Horse anymore. I was like, okay, why? And apparently in the comic book series Astro City, called Iron Horse, and he just didn't want to step on any toes. We got to think of a new name. And he goes, and don't worry, I already have one, and you can have it, Ironclad. Just use that. I was like, okay, great, Ironclad. That's what he is now. Iron Horse is now Ironclad. He goes, the other thing is you have to completely redesign him. I was like, oh God, wonderful. And I was really nervous about that because Iron Horse's design to me was very, very cool and very flawless. I don't think it really needed to be messed with. I want you to redesign him. If he's not Iron Horse anymore, he needs to look different. I was like, okay. So I said, can I at least keep the face? I love the big scoop shovel mouth that he has.
Big strong jawline.
Yeah, I love that jaw, big, I love it. And he's like, yeah, you can go ahead and keep that. But he goes, please redesign the body. He goes, this is the other thing. And this was the big thing too. For me, he goes, Iron Horse because Iron Horse originally, story that Phil had conceived, Iron Horse was a 11-year-old girl into the big robot. And in my book, in Ironclad, it's a 12-year-old boy that does it now. He goes, it can't be a girl anymore because I used that concept somewhere else, and I really don't want it with what you're going to do. And change it to a boy. I was like, okay. It kind of made me mad though because I really wanted to use the little girl. I thought the little girl aspect of it would have been a lot cooler.
I think it would have made for a fun story in and of itself, but.
So yeah, and also with Iron Horse was very steeped in Native American mythology and myth, and character and the colors of the character were very, a lot of orange and brown tones to the character. Basically had to start everything from scratch. And I redesigned him, and and he looks pretty close to what I came up with in my initial design. I tweaked and changed a couple of things since, but he looks pretty close to my original first redesign. The little girl who actually turned into Iron Horse in our book, Ironclad, it's a boy named Max Clad, which I thought was kind of stupid and cheesy, but the more I thought about it, I liked it more and more. Max's design, the only thing that really changed on him was his hair. He went from having a buzz cut to having like a skater mop, and I kind of left the skater mop because it seemed to fit. And then I tried to do it on my own. I plotted it out. I came up with a plot that was really, here's how good the plot I came up with was. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the plot I came up with. Put a thing out on the digital webbing message boards back when the early days of the digitalwebbing.com, which still exists. It's just a site where other, comic creators can kind of come together and discuss their projects or even hook up to do projects, find an artist, find a writer, find a colorist, what have you. Message boards are still up if anybody's ever out there listening that, is trying to get a comic project off the ground.
Yay, free plug.
Yeah. I'll visit there occasionally too to see if there's any, because every now and then I look for, a new inker or a new penciler or something for something I'm working on. But anyway, I got on the digital webbing and put a thing up looking for a writer to see if I could have a writer maybe flesh out my plot. And I found a writer named Roland Mann, who was another guy who's worked for Marvel and DC. He wasn't really doing comics anymore. He was actually teaching at this point. Roland was interested in what I had, and helped me plot out what is essentially the book that is will be out soon for everybody to read. The plot came from Roland, and I tweaked a lot of his stuff that he gave me, but most of the original plot came from what Roland had suggested. But I tried drawing from what he gave me originally, and it just didn't work for me. I wasn't satisfied with anything, so I scrapped it again. I think I sat on it again 2010, and I tried doing it again, and I got about 4 pages into it, and I wasn't feeling it, so I sat on it again. I still have those pages too, and right around.
Oh, go ahead.
Right around 2012, I started getting the itch to want to do a book again. I hadn't done anything in a while. Self-published a couple books in between those times. Them were very satisfying to me. I'd been published a few times by that point too. I had done some work for Blue Water Comics, which I really don't want to talk about too much because it was a really miserable experience. Tried doing a separate superhero line of comics for Blue Water, and they buried it hard on us. They published a couple of books, didn't pay anybody, tried to lay all the blame on me and the creative team I put together. So it was just a really miserable experience.
Fortunately, that is a thing that does happen.
Yeah, and it happened, and I hurt pretty bad after that. I was really contemplating getting out of comics altogether at that point, and not wanting to do it at all anymore. So I actually went in between that time. I went back to art college for about a year and a half to learn some new tricks. I wanted to learn how to paint. I wanted to learn Photoshop a little bit better, so I took some courses and learned me some Photoshop skills and learned how to paint a little bit, and just picked up some new drawing skills that I didn't have. I got the itch to do a book. I wanted to do something again. And my buddy Justin Williams, who is an artist out of Joliet, Illinois, we started talking one night, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I told him about it. He's like, "Dude, that sounds like that'd be a lot of fun to do. Why don't you get something together and start it?" He goes, "I'll help you in any way you need help." And that was all Justin's help. Justin's help was kicking me in the ass to get me to start drawing a book again. He didn't help with plot or inking or coloring anything. He gave me the kick in the ass I needed to kind of get started on it again. So I hammered out a 1-page plot for the first issue. That's all I had. I didn't know where I was going to go with it, but I hammered out a 1-page plot for the first issue. Jason Caskey, because he and I had been wanting to do something for a while, but nothing ever seemed to come at the right time. Jason's another guy who's known Phil for a long time, and him and Phil did an Image comic called The Holy Terror. It was about this Mexican wrestler. It was really cool book. So I contacted Jason. I was like, "Hey, man, I want to do something, and this is my idea for something to do. Are you in?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And he sent me back a script for the first part of Ironclad, and was just so happy with it. I mean, there wasn't a page where I went, "Oh God, why did that come out that way?" I did that a lot. The first couple of times I tried drawing Ironclad, I was look at my pages and it's like, "This is bad. Why am I continuing?" I even tore up a couple of pages. This fun. Everything about doing it this time just felt right. So I did it. Everybody, like all my friends and everything, and then I got a colorist, my colorist Doug Stevens, who just brought amazing dimensions to the colors in this book. They're just the one thing, you can say if you get the book and you look at it and you don't think the art's all that hot, you can't say the colors are bad, because Doug and Jared too. I mean, Jared's flats really a lot of things that Doug did in the book, and Doug's effects on some of those pages are just insane. And the time and effort that Doug put into the book, I can't praise Doug enough. Because without Doug, that book wouldn't look near as good as it does. And, Doug came along and just put some colors on it, and we sent out a couple of proposals and got turned down almost immediately by just about everybody with the exception of one company, which was this company out of Seattle called Committed Comics, who I actually had heard of earlier. They did some books in the early 2000s that I actually owned. still putting out books. I just hadn't seen anything from them in a long time. The proposal, they actually wouldn't accept digital proposals. I actually had to print off pages and mail them to Committed, which is something that it doesn't happen very often anymore. Most companies now accept everything digitally. Off to Committed. The publisher Committed, Tom Doherty, emailed me and then gave me his phone number. I gave him a buck, and he was in. The only thing that changed from the proposal to finished product was this book as a 3-issue miniseries, 3 issues and done. Committed no longer does single-issue comics anymore. They do all graphic novels, full novels. So we had to take, glad to extend them out to a 4th issue. So it's a 128-page graphic novel now.
And I cursed up a storm when you said, "I got another issue." It's a son of
a. Well, we had to finish it, man. Because the story at 3 issues just wouldn't work. We had to do it. Had to cram in a 4th one there. But Committed's been unbelievably great from the time they picked it up. They picked it up in mid-2013. So basically, from the start time, I started drawing it in 2012 till now. It's been 5 years it to actual printed publication. I couldn't be happier with the final.
Oh yes, the final product does look pretty sharp, and it's kind of interesting because we've had Adam and Comfort on the show, and they talk about the process they went through, and you talk about the process you've gone through, and it's kind of fascinating the differences in both of you guys are indie, obviously, and just the difference it makes having a good creative team to work with to get it done seems to make a massive difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade a soul on this book at all. Everybody that helped me on it, I wouldn't say I should have got him instead. No, there's not one person on this project. I can't praise Mark enough because I mean, this guy worked for free. Everybody worked for free on the thing. So talented, and he's a known guy. He's worked for Marvel and DC. I couldn't pay him a dime, but he brought his A game with every time I got a page back, I was excited. And Doug, this is Doug's first published work ever. The colors look amazing. Micah Myers, my letterer, who I found through digital webbing, Micah's lettering like 19 books right now too, and he's the best indie letterer on the planet. So if anybody's listening to this, needs a letterer, contact Micah Myers. He's wonderful, awesome. Yeah, I can't heap enough praise on everybody who worked on it. I really can't, because without them, this this book could still be sitting in a drawer in my house.
Now, speaking of the books, you've had a few hard copies that you've managed to take out and sell off. How's that seem to be going across so far? Like the
very good.
Yeah, the interest, I should say.
Very good. It's I did a show this past weekend in St. Louis. I only brought 10 copies. I brought 10 copies with me. Free. And they all but 2 went to adults. Little boys. Because I would do my little spiel about what the book's about, and as soon as these little kids heard it's a 12-year-old boy is the main character and the hero of the book, they wanted it.
So, real quick, he's in that suit? The ironclad suit?
I think we might have lost him again.
Possibly.
Wait, there he is.
There he is. I didn't get your answer.
Had plunked down the money and bought him a copy. So,
yeah, I think he must have lost us too, because he still was going on about the kids like, sold, and well, they got to buy it for the kid, which is fantastic. I mean, that's kind of what you're going for. But anyway, Adam just asked you a question, Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was not your fault. I think Discord's being stupid again.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear the question, Adam.
The character, he is inside the suit?
Basically, the suit. Some story here. The backstory is the main villain of the book is this guy named Thrax, who is kind of like a hybrid of Darkseid and Thanos. He's basically he's a guy who goes to planets and takes them over. now looking at Earth. And before he takes a planet over, he sends what are called destroyers down. And destroyers are basically these little elemental pods who they come down, they land on a planet, find out what resources are on the planet, and become a creature based on certain resources. So, and this first, I actually have plans for a sequel to this book too, by the way. Comes down to Earth is a rock elemental, Crag, and he is basically he lands in a mountain region in the desert. So, the desert, I should say, and basically is formed out of rock from this canyon. The destroyer. Well, the guy who creates the destroyers is one of the aliens that Thrax enslaves. So he's tired. This alien was tired of seeing Thrax win all the time and destroying and decimating all these worlds. So he decides to send a designated defender to Earth with this destroyer, and that defender pod is the ironclad armor.
Mm-hmm.
And in that the armor was actually intended for a hero, a warrior, a soldier, somebody pure of heart. Well, unfortunately, it falls into the hands of a 12-year-old boy who was able to bond with the armor. And that's
chaos ensues.
But yes.
there's a little chaos.
So now I got to pick up this book. Will it be available outside of, like, in stores and stuff, or is it just going to be like a convention thing?
Right now, it's only conventions just because we're waiting to hear back from Diamond. Diamond seems to be taking their sweet time getting back to the publisher about when they want to take the book.
Have you looked?
I should say, if Diamond takes the book, the publisher doesn't seem to have any fears that Diamond will take it. It's just Diamond is, clicking their heels.
Well, it's kind of a shame that Diamond is like the only distributor out there.
Have you guys looked into digital distribution as well?
That's something I was just about to bring up. My publisher, Tom Doherty, has been looking into digital. He hasn't decided on anything yet. I know Comixology is going to be an option for it. We've talked about that. I want it to be an option for it. It will be in stores. I will say that, wholeheartedly. It will be in stores one way or another. If Diamond don't pick it up, you'll be able to order it direct from Committed, I have a feeling. But for now, right now, about the only place you can get it is through me or Tom, if you see Tom at a convention. Tom does millions of conventions, so somebody is bound to run into him. I'm supposed to be doing a convention in Madison this weekend, but that's probably not going to happen now. But I am doing the Awesome Con in Washington, D.C., and I will have copies of it there with me. Also,
we have East Coast guys. They need to go there. Get to it.
Yeah,
Wolfie.
Exactly. I should also bring up, too, the Ironclad right now, as far as the printed versions, we have 2 available. We have the regular standard one that, I'll have copies of, and Tom will have copies of. It shows that will be available. We also have a limited one. Unfortunately, I think there's only like 3 or 4 copies of this book left, the limited version left. The limited version has a cover drawn by Bart Sears. It's printed on metal. The cover is made out of metal. And you can actually get it through the Ironclad fan page. Don't know how many copies of it are left because Tom, a certain number of copies. I want to say there's 3 or 4 copies left, but as soon as we made them available, they went pretty quick. The standard edition of the book will be $12.99. It's 128 pages. The metal cover, the Bart Sears metal cover of the book, lenticular cover, is $30. And you also get a free metal print with that one, too, if I'm not mistaken.
It's also had to be hammered together. You literally had to use a hammer to etch everything in.
I watched Tom put the metal covers together.
It's only I'm just picturing, because I've met Tom, and I'm just picturing him doing some Iron Man thing with like Robert Downey Jr. Clang, clang, ironclad.
If it makes anybody feel any better too, when it comes with that metal cover, I don't even have any copies of it.
Sitting here looking at the artwork, and it's just like the Iron Giant meets Iron Man meets the Hulk meets Ben 10, and I'm digging it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
It's, you know what, the more, I mean, there's art styles and stuff you have. I mean, yours is a little less cartoony than like McGinnis's, Ed McGinnis.
Mm.
And I love Ed McGinnis's. I think he was a breath of fresh air to a stagnating comic art style that everybody was doing. They were trying to get that pseudo manga look that Jim Lee and Liefeld and Silvestri and everybody had made so popular during the 90s. And in comes this young guy McGinnis, and all of a sudden he's got this round, cartoony look, and I really dig. I was like, oh, okay, I'm digging. I loved his Superman books.
Oh yeah, me too.
And so, I mean, the style of the book is very similar to that, and I don't know. I just seem to like just different looking books. I mean, I know an artist here locally in Cleveland that does a book called Apama.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Sikora is the guy's name, and the book is actually really good. I've got both issues that he's put out. They're both 2 graphic novels. And I've actually got a piece in one of them. I did a pinup for him of one of the main female bad guys. Oh, nice. And I met him a couple of years ago at a convention, and actually it wasn't even a convention. It was just a comic book appreciation day at the local library. And he was there promoting his book, and we talked, and he was like, do you do like actual comics, like penciling? I was like, nah, man, it's like my storytelling when it comes to that kind of stuff. It starts to, I mean, I could do a page or two, and then by the 3rd page, I get bored, and I really don't want to do it anymore. I like doing splash pages. I like doing, like, single images and paintings and things like that. But when it comes to actual sequential art, it drives me nuts. It's like, this is why I didn't go into animation, even though that's what I'm doing right now. I'm animating stuff, but it's different. Digital animation is completely, not 3D, but 2D digital animation is a lot different than the old school ways of doing it, where you had to draw the same image over and over. And that's what kind of got me bummed on comics. It was different. But I mean, looking at the stuff in here, I'm just like, the fact that, I mean, like, again, the fact that this is an indie comic still blows me away. Because like I said, I mean, I have seen indie comics. I mean, I have seen mainstream comics with artwork that just goes, how did this guy get a job? And if this doesn't get picked up by Diamond, I don't know, man. You got to find a way to get out there, because this book rocks.
Well, thank you very much.
At the very least, going the committed route. No, not committed. Comixology or Kablam or whoever. That's a route that Adam and Comfort went, and it worked for them.
Yeah, and there are alternate routes. You know, just with a lot of the alternate routes, with maybe the exception of Comixology. I don't know what the Kablams used to be called. Comics Monkey. It's got a new name now, and I can't remember what it is. A lot of those other, independent distributors and everything. Them is for a lot of people who read comics, it's hard to find them. I mean, no, granted, you just go on the internet. They're on the internet. Yeah, well, most comic readers, this is true, and it's funny too. They're lazy. I can go to my comic store and just have them order it. Well, then the comic store's got to get online and find this website. It works, but it's kind of a pain all at the same time. I mean.
And rather than be something worth it for the comic shop to
exactly.
They're going to mark it up, which is natural, makes sense.
I mean, because when they order from the alternate site, I mean, a lot of times they're paying a price that's substantially higher than what they'd have to pay through Diamond. Their customer, let's say they have to pay $3 for a book, from this indie comic, because one guy he's got to charge the guy $6 just to make a profit on it. It's not very cost effective in that way. But I mean, granted, it still gets the person the book. So, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, at the very least, maybe and that would be something you could bring up to Tom. That
don't get me wrong. I've looked into many things, and Tom and I have talked at length about, what to do if Diamond don't pick it up. So, I mean, we have plans, but we're really kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that, Diamond just says, yeah, come on, give us your book. And the other thing is, too, I'll be glad when Diamond says that, so I can get Jared, Mark, Doug, and Micah their comps, because Committed won't give me any comps to give you guys yet until Diamond decides they're going to pick up the book.
Well, at the very least, if Diamond does pick it up, you still should be able to have the option to be able to do a print on demand. It's like, because maybe they can't get it through Diamond right away. I don't know. Maybe there's a contract involved. That's certainly possible. But still, they can't find it through the comic shop. because Diamond's not, as we well know, some distributors on the local end kind of suck. So, maybe it's still something they could have as an option, to do.
Yeah, like I said, there are other options in Diamond, and I hate the fact, that Diamond is now the only option in town for the most part. There are other guys, but Diamond is, the McDonald's. They're everywhere for comic book stores, and sometimes you have to eat them. Most of the time, you have to eat them, whether you like it or not.
Yep. It's one of the main things they say, that if you were going to start a comic book store, you got to deal with Diamond.
Yeah, and you know what? I know a lot of people that own comic book stores, and they hate dealing with Diamond. They miss the days.
To this day, she's like, I keep saying I want to start a comic book store. It's like, let's just start a business. What do you want to do? I want to start a comic book store. And she's like, but comic book stores don't make a lot of money. I was like, no, they don't, not right off the bat. But you got to do something different. I have got this thought in my head that a comic book store.
My main goal now, I'm trying to do every convention I can until the Diamond thing falls into place. I just contacted Alex, the other committed co-publisher, committed to send me some more books, because I literally have none, with the exception of the one I have for myself right now.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, and you know what? Everybody I've told it committed, between Alex and Tom, the publishers, I told them, I basically have sold out of the book. They're ecstatic. They've been behind. That's the one thing I can also say about commit. They've been behind this book since day one.
Have you tried? Granted, you're waiting to get more books. Have you talked to the folks up by Peoria we went to?
Oh, Zeke's?
Yeah.
Basically, once the book comes out, I'm basically waiting. Like I said, it's waiting to find out when Diamond is getting the book, whether or not Diamond's taking the book, I should say. And once we know that, I've talked to Zach, who owns Zeke's, about coming in and doing a signing once the book is out through Diamond. And Zach is more than willing to have me come out. Zach loves having me there, and I love being there. It's a great shop.
It is a great shop. Adam,
yeah,
if you're going to start your own place, you should probably model yours to like what Zeke's got going on.
Pimp Zeke's here for a minute. If you're ever in the Peoria area, Zeke's Comics and Games in Peoria, definitely go, because it's a great store. Zach and Ryan are awesome.
It was like, the idea is like, well, starting a business. I don't want to do food, comic book store. And you got to have a twist, though, because comic book stores, they don't make a lot of money right off the bat. So
yeah, you got to have something else to keep them coming and hanging out there. That's
yeah, and I know there are other stores out there, a few that I've seen that have a little like we stole the name for the Geek Easy was taken, and I got the idea for the name for a podcast. It's spelled different, but there's a comic book store down in Florida called the Geek Easy, and they have the unique bit. They have a very cool thing where they have a back room where artists aspiring artists can go in and work and stuff. They've got that kind of stuff, but they also have the back room is alcohol friendly. They can't sell it, but you're allowed to bring it.
Oh, wow.
And it's literally a place you can go hang out. And they are one of the few that stuck around down in the Orlando area. Other shops folded and they didn't.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and they're really cool guys too. They had a great thing going on down there, and I would love to start something like that up here. But knowing my background, I've worked in toys and I've done sculpting for was it not Diamond Select? What's the other one? Maybe it is Diamond Select. I did stuff for them, worked with Randy Queen and those guys doing statues and mini busts with them. I would love to have that kind of aspect to it, where you can get guys in. It's like having an art studio in the back, where it's like a couple of computers with Photoshop and stuff, that if they don't have the ability to do it on their own and they want to learn it, or they need resources, come do this. If you want to learn how to make the sculptures for your stuff, come learn how to do that, as well as hang out and buy some comics.
Yeah, that's awesome. I live in the Quad Cities. It's Iowa, Illinois, so Davenport, Moline, East Moline, Milan. And in the 90s, we had comic book shops popping up all over the place. Now, actually, but not as many as we did. I think Davenport alone at one point in time had 7. We're down to, I think in Davenport now we've only got 2.
They fold pretty quickly. One of the local ones here, he closed his doors on the physical store last year, and I guess he just put it out that the digital thing is going away too because he's just not making money on it.
Sure.
Because he went to a complete digital where you would order it digitally and they would send your books every month. And it was a shame to see the store close. I really like going down there. It was close. Yeah. It was the closest store. I mean, there is another one that's a little further away. It's not too bad, but I mean, there's not a lot. And it's like this area is starving for comic book stores. You just got to find the right area and market. It's like a college town would be perfect.
Yeah, Wilmington, the city I just moved out of, has 2, including one that just moved into a bigger location.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I mean...
Did we lose him?
He faded.
Yeah, I think it cut out on him again.
3, 2, 1.
There's 3?
Yeah, you've been talking, and unfortunately, we didn't catch any of it. So Adam,
I'm sorry.
When you returned. No, it's not you. It's Discord.
It's Discord. You can time it almost. It's just like a 10-second delay.
In the quads down here. I mean, in Davenport, we got 2 shops. Moline has 1, I think. Or there might be one other one. I think it's just the one though. And then in Rock Island, there's 3. You know, at one point in time, just in the Quad Cities alone, I think we had stores total that were comics, basically comic centric. And then after the 90s, when the speculators market killed comics in the late 90s, up very quickly. So, I mean, and the funny thing is, I go to all but one store I go to in the Quad Cities. There's only one store in the Quad Cities I don't go to. And I go to that are, the ones I've stuck around and everything, even they're struggling a bit. There's just so many choices nowadays. I know everybody brings it up, but it's the truth. I mean,
the digital aspect has hurt it a lot.
Yes, and I used to not think it did, but yeah, it hurt it a bit. I know a lot of people that just do digital strictly. They stopped buying the comics. I'll never do that because stupid, corny reason. I love feeling that comic book in my hand, flipping through it. I love feeling the actual physically printed book in my hands rather than holding an iPad to my face.
I go to my local shops, but the last time I bought books that were technically from my local shop were at the little comic and toy show that Wilmington has. And I mean, I was buying all the discount books I could find. Most of the time when I buy books, I go to Ollie's and I buy the $6 packs with like 20 books in them. And it just gives me starting off points to find older stuff to read.
I mean, I think that's really cool. Because my main book of Ironclad, getting Ironclad out there, if an adult buys it, I really want the adult to give it to their kid. In my opinion, there's just not enough kids reading comic books anymore. There really aren't.
That's because a lot of comic books have gone in the aspect where you really can't let your kids read them anymore.
No, then that's something that's always bugged me. I mean, I remember when comic books, A, used to be fun to read, and B, you just give a comic book to a 5-year-old kid who's just learning how to read. Here's the proof of, I think, the power of comic books that still exists, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. Kids who want to read comics will read a comic book. They want to read a comic book. Will read that comic book, and if they come across a word they don't know, they will do one of 2 things. They will either go and seek out a parent, ask that parent what that word is. Nowadays, the old days was go get a dictionary and look up the word. Now they'll get on the computer and Google the word to find out what the hell it meant.
Yep.
So they know what's going on in the book. That's been lost a little bit. It's still there. It still does happen occasionally, but I don't think it happens the way it used to.
Well, I mean, you don't even have anything like Power Pack that you can give a kid anymore.
Oh, yeah. It just doesn't exist
And
anymore.
even Power Pack by the end was getting like
pretty dark.
Well, it's not, again, don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy reading dramatic comic books. I mean, the Batman books and all those. There's way too many out there. There's like, 17 Batman books right now. It's too hard to keep track.
But half of them are bizarre.
Yeah. But when my son and I, when it's like my 11-year-old son wants to go to the comic book store, and it's like 90% of the stuff out there is either for mature readers, or it's just way over his head. And I'm like, man, what happened to the days it's like he could read Superman. That's about the only book DC puts out right. And DC, I mean, Flash, Superman, Flash hasn't gotten dark yet. Superman is still a fun story to read. But
honestly, you should go on Amazon and buy the old the Marvel stuff where it's all the black and white old stuff.
Yes.
Like the first run Iron Mans and everything. All the old stuff that really gets people into comics. That's what
he picked up. What did he pick up? He picked up, I have Sons of Origins and Origins, the old original Marvel stories, the Avengers and all those guys.
Sure.
And yeah, he loves those. And he goes, the first Avengers story blew his mind. He's like, why does Iron Man look so bad? And why are they chasing the Hulk? And he knew all the characters, of course, because the movies. He's like, wow, they were really close. I was like, yeah, they came close, but not as close. I mean,
it was such a simpler way of telling a story back then, because you didn't have 50, 60 years of backstory that you have to try to wade through.
Exactly. You know,
it's like, go ahead.
Like I said, it's the double-edged sword about me loving the 90s the way I do. Yes, I love the 90s because comics were fun, but it's also about the era when comics really started going down. If you wanted to do that, I mean, you can kind of blame Watchmen and Dark Knight for really getting the dark train going in comic books.
Sure.
Never read them.
90s fully embraced it. I mean, where publishers were still a little hesitant after Dark Knight and Watchmen to start, heading down some darker territory, but it's like the 90s, they just said, the hell with it. Let's see how dark we can get.
Watchmen is an amazing book, but that is not a book you can give to kids.
Oh, not at all.
I'm not so sure that's a book you can give to adults.
I mean, I remember here's funny. When I was 9 years old, my brother got it. My brother was my gateway to comic books. My brother Chad bought X-Men 170. I think how old Chad would have been, I think 9 or 10 came out. If Chad had not bought that book, my fate as a comic book artist might not have never happened. Because he was my gateway. My brother, I basically, during my brother's heyday of collecting comic books, in the 80s through the 90s, he bought it. If he didn't buy it, I bought it. So we read everything. Came home with Watchmen. He goes, I don't know if you should read that, but I'll let it slide. I don't care, I guess. And I read it, and I'm not gonna lie, my mind was blown. I'd never read anything like that before.
And it holds up. That's the great thing about that story.
It holds up to this day. I mean, I just read it again, I think, maybe a month ago. It hasn't faltered at all. It's still just as hard-hitting. Read it. And
it's weird that they've started integrating some of those characters into the DC universe, though.
I think that's a bad idea. I really wish they'd just leave it alone. Watchmen is something that should just stand on its own and just stay there and stop messing with it.
It shouldn't be a movie.
See, I love the movie.
Honestly, for as complex as the book is, I thought the movie did a fairly good job of hitting most of the major points. I mean, some of the changes bugged me, but compared to a lot of the other Zack Snyder stuff, that's probably his best movie.
No, 300 is his best movie.
See, I hated 300.
I can't. I've watched 300 twice, and I cannot watch it anymore.
I couldn't make it. First time I watched it, I couldn't make it through the first 25 minutes, and walked away from it. I waited another day, and then I sat through it the rest of the day, and I was mad at myself for sitting through it.
Like, I'm not criticizing other people that really like 300.
Oh no, I mean,
and I liked it the first 2 times I watched it, but the third time I sat down to watch it, I made it like 3 minutes and I turned it off.
Well, on that same note, though, since we're talking about, comic films or comics that have been made into film and opinions thereby, Greg, did you actually see Black Panther?
I've seen it twice.
I'm going to take that as a sign that you really enjoyed it.
I did, you know, and it's a good movie. I will put it as one of Marvel's best. It's not the best Marvel movie, like some people said, and it's also, and this is something that, you know, is not a popular opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway. There was an okay villain. I don't think he's the best Marvel villain. I thought Michael B. Jordan did a great job playing him. I did have a few issues with it, though. There are a couple things very minor problems I have with the movie, and I actually discussed them with my brother when we were talking about it the other day. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Okay, when I saw I've seen the movie 3 times, and what got me is, again, I will agree with you. It is not Marvel's best. That is still held by Winter Soldier, in my opinion.
It was actually my number 2 argument the other day. Me and my brother did. Avengers is still my number 1 for one reason. Avengers still holds up for me as my favorite, my personal favorite Marvel movie. The one scene in the movie when that camera does that rotation around all of them after the Hulk, the big monster. And he does that every time. I mean, talking about it, I'm getting goosebumps and my hairs on my arms are standing up talking about that scene.
It was a fantastic scene.
The music and then that camera swoop around all of them and they're all standing there. And not only that, I found out after the fact, too, with that scene, they weren't even all there. It's
mostly digital.
Rotation. Yeah, it was all digital. And I was like, holy shit. It's like, Jesus, that's awesome. About the scene, I've got goosebumps talking about it and the hairs on my arms are standing up. And I haven't had that feeling in a movie.
What bugs me is that First Avenger seems to just be so underrated by most people.
Oh, I love it.
It's like the perfect Cap movie.
Oh, it is. It very much so. I mean, I really like the second one too, and I know a lot of people bag on the second one. I thought the second one was really good. I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought it was a very decent follow-up.
Well, since going on about ratings, as it were, here, we've done our own kind of rankings, and it's kind of funny. I think Adam and I have frequently had differing opinions than what like others have had. Like Battleship, we actually didn't think it was that bad a film, things like that. But we can see that from a economic standpoint, some of these films are just, you know, gangbusters, and Black Panther is definitely, you know, rocking the money pit because they're just shy of $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, I just saw that today. That's amazing to me. I wouldn't. Two things about that. One, I never, ever in my lifetime thought I'd see a Black Panther movie, ever. And two, the fact that that movie's almost at $1 billion. I think it's at 900 million worldwide right now.
921 million, if we want to be specific.
I can't fathom that. And I think it's great.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, the majority of the money is also from domestic, from the U.S.
Yeah, I think
55% of it.
The movie's already grossed in the U.S. alone, I think, almost $700 million.
512, at least according to Box Office Mojo. I don't know if they're completely up to date, but
okay.
So
incredible to me.
They're doing good.
It's incredible to me. You know,
I think my favorite part about Black Panther is that the first half hour felt like a comic book. The way it was framed, the way it was written, it just was a comic book on screen. It was awesome. And then it got more movie cinematic-esque.
The only thing I can say negative for me about Black Panther is it's a small gripe. It's a legitimate one, and I'm kind of surprised nobody else has really called out anybody on it. The only thing that really kind of irked me during the first challenge between T'Challa and Killmonger, when he, you know, wants the throne, isn't the Black Panther supposed to be adept and trained in all these fighting styles? And
yes,
buddy. And then Killmonger basically took him out with little to no effort. And not to say that, you know, people who are in the military don't get sufficient training, but you would think that T'Challa would have a little bit more training and be a little bit more adept at fighting than Killmonger would.
I mean, they kind of tried to imply that Killmonger's like extremely skilled, a savant, if you will, when it comes to that sort of stuff.
I still don't buy that. The Panther took out, was taking out people in Civil War and was taking out people at the beginning of the movie. I don't buy that. I think that was a little bit of a lazy writing thing.
Well, he also did have the power to
a minor gripe. Basically, had he not won, the plot wouldn't have moved forward.
True.
I think my biggest problem with the movie is that Marvel just has this bad habit of killing off villains before they get a chance to become interesting. You finally have a villain that is. You have two villains that come across fairly interesting in this movie, and you kill them both off.
To be fair, killing off Killmonger, especially the way they end it worked. It fit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Claw could be the main bad guy for a movie. He's too over the top crazy. But
agreed.
He's great to have running around in the background, and now you probably can't have that.
And now see, my second favorite Marvel villain is not Killmonger goes at number 3. My second favorite Marvel, I loved Ultron. I thought James Spader as Ultron was wonderful. I love the fact they gave him a personality, because I remember I heard a lot of bitching from people in Avengers 2 that, well, Ultron's got all this personality and stuff. He's not supposed to have that. Really? You want to see a cold villain on screen, no personality like Ultron is in the comics? You want to see a cold villain on screen? Go watch Thor 2. Malekith is one of the most boring, cold villains I've ever seen, and proof that a cold villain in a comic book movie, doesn't work.
Well, Marvel has that problem aside from the Red Skull.
I thought Red Skull was really good too.
Red Skull, I think. Well, Red Skull was probably their best to date.
I don't know. They've done a pretty stellar job with Loki. I mean,
yeah, but Loki really isn't the villain. He's Loki. He's the god of mischief and discord. He's not the Red Skull. I mean, the Red Skull was
villain.
He's
not the Red Skull, essentially. I mean, the Red Skull he's evil personified, basically.
Yeah, he's like Hitler on steroids.
Pretty much, yeah. That's very, very well put.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm really hoping Thanos can pull it off, because even Thor 3, or the Ragnarok, which I want to talk about a little bit in a second, because I got it on 4K and I want to talk about that. I mean, it was a good movie, but again, the villain was lackluster comparatively, and Hela should have been a lot bigger and more than she was.
With Ragnarok, I am, anybody who knows me, my two favorite all-time comic book characters and from Marvel are Cap and Thor. Thor especially. I mean, I have Thor's hammer tattooed on my arm.
It's true.
A few minor issues with Ragnarok. I mean, I liked it a lot. It was very funny, but the problem with it was, for me, is that it was very funny. The subject matter of that movie should have been a lot darker than it was.
I think, but they were trying to get away from the other two books, or the other two films, which were darker.
And I think that was kind of a mistake in this, for this movie. You're calling the movie Thor Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the Norse end of days. This movie should have been a little bit more serious.
True.
That was, I mean, but also, that's also a minor issue, because I went and saw Ragnarok in theater and I loved it. I thought it was funny, but like I said, I really wish parts that would have been, I really wish it would have been a little darker. And it didn't need to be, like I said, didn't need to be cold monotone like Malekith was in Thor 2, which I actually enjoy Thor 2 with the exception of the villain. I thought Malekith was just kind of a snooze as far as the villain's concerned, but Ragnarok would have been a little bit darker.
He had no, what was it? There was like, okay, yeah, he's just this generic bad guy that wants bad things to happen because something in the past happened. Okay.
That's how I felt with Malekith. I mean, I love their choice in casting. I thought Chris Eccleston was great, but it's like, he's not doing anything with it. He's literally, it's almost like he's reading the script rather than bringing something to it.
Yeah.
And especially, being a Thor fan, I am. Malekith in the comic books is almost Loki in a way. I mean, he's he's kind of a fun villain almost, and they just played this guy seriously dark and cold, and no emotion, no personality, and it's like he didn't need to be a robot.
Well, he was no depth.
He was stone-faced, monotone. He reminded me of my sociology teacher in high school. Monotone and boring. I mean, I could sleep through one of your villain monologues. I mean, give me something here. And for me, that's really the only negative thing I can say about the second Thor, because I really liked the second Thor movie with the exception of the villain.
We do have a couple comments here from our Twitch stream. Firefly's pointing out, because you guys mentioned about Ragnarok, and he said, after all, it's called Ragnarok for a reason. Yeah, it makes sense. It probably should be a little bit darker. I mean, end of the world, essentially. And then he also mentions that he was amused that they actually had Scourge doing Mr. Wu proud with the M16s.
Yeah.
M16s that didn't run out of ammo.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, they're original issue, man. They're the A1s. They do things with that the A2s and beyond don't.
Well, they're in the hands of an Asgardian, so they might be a little enchanted. So
we'll let it slide.
Let that one slide. I mean, he's gonna die regardless.
Wow, this is. I mean, I know I am lucky enough to have a 4K television, and I've got the Xbox One, so it plays my 4K Blu-rays. I picked up. It's like my first 4K Blu-ray was Coco, Disney's Coco, or Pixar's Coco, and let me tell you, it blew me away, because I mean, it was just like I was like in awe when I finally got to see a true 4K image. Thor Ragnarok,
nice.
Throw it in. I'm all like, let's go. I want to see this. And then I didn't realize how much green screen was used in that movie until the scene where Hulk and Thor are talking in Hulk's room, and I didn't catch it on screen. I was like, okay, when it was on screen, it didn't look that bad. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here watching it going, my God, the compositing in this scene is horrific. Because the shadows on Hulk and Thor do not match the shadows in the room. They just look gray compared to the dark contrast in the room. And I was like, wait, maybe it's my TV settings. And no, my TV settings are fine because everything else looked fine. I was like, and what's really funny is Wolfie, the one scene that you always thought was badly composited, looked fine.
I don't know. I've watched the movie like 3 times and it looks bad to me.
No, that one, it blew me away how just that one area looks so bad in 4K. Now, the rest of the film looks gorgeous. The colors bounce off the screen. I mean, it's just like, I remember being the guy go, I'm never going to get a Blu-ray. Who needs all that? I am at a 4K stage at this point, and I'm like, I am chomping at the bit for Justice League and Last Jedi now, because even though Justice League is not the greatest DC film, and I will defend it to the end of days going, you know what? I got to see the Super Friends on screen, live action for the first time ever. Shut up.
Oh, and geez, and that scene from The Last Jedi on a 4K TV is probably going to be, whoa.
Which one? The battle?
Oh, yeah. You know which one I'm talking about. The one that literally the entire audience just goes, holy.
Badger has entered the room, folks.
God, now the show's over.
No, Badger, we're talking. I was just telling these guys how I got Thor Ragnarok on 4K, and just if you don't own a 4K television, I would say, you know what? They're getting cheaper now.
Go get it.
Save your money. Go get one, because
get one.
Damn.
But don't get okay. So if you're getting a 4K, one thing you need to realize on a TV. If it says 60 hertz, it is not true 4K. It is false.
True.
You need to go with a 120 hertz or higher.
And HDR. Has to have HDR.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, you're not going to get the right TV.
Wait, hang on. I'm writing notes. Could you say that again?
Yes. HDR. Make sure it's not 60 hertz. Make sure it's 120, and it's got HDR capability.
Crap, I dropped my crayon.
Was it pink?
But yes, the scene. I mean, there's stuff like the beginning opening of Justice League when they're in Gotham and Batman's doing the Batman stuff, and I'm looking forward to that scene. I'm looking forward to the fight scene between Superman and the rest of the Justice League in Metropolis, and then The Last Jedi. I'm very much looking forward to all of it, because again, I am one of those Star Wars fans that after multiple viewings really enjoys that film.
I loved it. I've seen it, I think, six or seven times.
Oh, you beat me. I've seen it 4 or 5.
I've seen it twice.
I think I've seen it 7 times. Yeah.
Good Lord, man,
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I went and saw it. I didn't see it opening day or anything. You know, I had a bunch of friends of mine who saw it, and I was like, Greg, I don't know if you're going to like it, man, because I didn't. I had a lot of issues with it. And then I was like, well, I don't want to hear any. I'm going to go see it, and then maybe we can talk about it after I see it. I went and saw it, and I called my friend Jason, and I said, did you have with this movie? Because you're insane. There was nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, that movie is damn near perfect for me. I don't know what movie you saw, but I don't think we saw the same movie. I really don't.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Justice League, right?
No,
I'm talking about Last Jedi.
Oh, Last Jedi. Okay, sorry.
Oh no, Justice
I
League.
loved Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi was wonderful.
Justice League is all kinds of flawed, but again, I will defend that movie until my grave, man.
League.
I guess I'm sorry. What did they want people to do with Last Jedi? You can't ape Lucas.
No.
I mean, because Lucas proved he can't even ape himself.
Yeah, I mean, the movie. If you want new Star Wars movies, like everybody seems to want, every Star Wars fan wants, they got to move forward.
And that's the thing. If they're going to keep making movies at the pace they are, they have to change constantly.
Yeah, they've got to grow, and you know,
well, that's the big problem people are having. It's not. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. Well, the last time you got a movie that felt like Star Wars, you complained because it was too derivative of the original.
So Rogue One, I think, felt better than The Force Awakens.
Rogue One had the nostalgia factor, and don't get me wrong, I love Rogue One because it feels like the original movie.
See, I hated Rogue One.
Really? Yeah, I just loved it. It felt. I mean, it literally feels like the 1970s again with that film.
It felt like it belonged with that trilogy. That's how I look at it. Just a little bit updated graphics, but I felt like it belonged in that trilogy.
Hate it. I guess that's the wrong word to say. I just felt it was a useless movie. The only part of that movie I got any enjoyment out of was the last 10 minutes when Vader's wiping out everybody on that ship. Other than that, I don't remember most of it. I mean, I sat and watched. I didn't fall asleep, but it was like I didn't care. There was nothing about it I cared.
I really enjoyed Rogue One, but I do kind of see what you're saying. I'm not sure it was a story that needed to be told.
No, I literally didn't care. I didn't care about any of the character. I mean, I liked the robot that Alan Tudyk voiced. Didn't care.
You're telling me you didn't like Donnie Yen?
No, they were all useless. They were all useless characters. If somebody would have lived, none of them were gonna. I knew they were all going to die. So why should I care about any of these guys? That was my feeling towards it, and it still is. I tried watching it the other day. I was like, yeah, I don't care. I know what's going to happen. You're going to die.
You know what's funny is that this happens frequently with Greg and I. I'll really enjoy this, and he will come back and basically say, "Oh, I just don't care for it," and it's just one of those things. You just kind of let that go, because again, everyone's got their own opinions. DC films typically get shot down by Greg.
Anybody for liking it at all? You know, I get why, and the thing is, I get why everybody likes it. And that's great, but it just for me, it didn't work. I mean, I really wish I could have my 2 hours back.
Well, like I said,
I'm worried about Solo.
I'm not.
We really don't need that either, but okay. I admit the trailers made me interested.
It's not that we need it or not. I think Glover's going to be amazing as Lando, but
am I the only person on the planet who thinks Donald Glover is worthless? He's super hard on for that guy, and I don't see the appeal of him.
But it's not, I don't particularly like the guy that cast as Han, for one thing.
I'm just curious whether Han Solo is being made because of the way that the character met his end.
I would rather the movie be Lando and just be Donald Glover for 2 hours. Like, that's a backstory we need. Everybody else pretty much knows about Han.
I really don't need a backstory of Lando either, though. He's a gambler. We get it. That's it. I'm done.
Any of them. Why don't you just give me a story of, you know, I really would like, you know, they've been talking about doing that Obi-Wan movie. I hope that happens. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
And I hope they get Ewan McGregor to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've said it before. What I want is a Man with No Name style Boba Fett bounty hunter movie.
Nah, moving on. Don't care.
Josh Trank screwed up the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I don't care when it comes to Boba Fett. I really don't care.
Yeah, I mean, most of the solo Star Wars movies, it's like, okay, I get why you're doing it because you want to keep the franchise fresh and alive, and that's all well and good. But I'd rather have just a new straight Star Wars movie.
Well, speaking of the speed, though, anybody else pick up on the fact that the DVD is coming out really fast?
Yeah, it comes out like the end of March, close to the end of March.
So my birthday comes out 2 days before my birthday.
You're talking about the movie for Last Jedi?
Yeah, Last Jedi comes out March 27th.
I think it comes out March.
It's Disney.
I think it comes out on digital like really soon.
It comes out on digital in 6 days.
Yeah, and then like I think March 27th for physical copies in stores and stuff.
No, I mean it's Disney. They're now. Did that one acquisition go through?
But still, they're still investigating right now.
Well, yeah, because if it goes through, they own 40% of all media on the planet.
Here's something else you guys should think about too. I don't know if you've talked about this at all. Warner Brothers is wanting to sell DC Comics.
Yes,
heard about that.
Disney. Grab it.
No. Well, you know what?
Sorry,
if Warner Brothers sells it to Disney,
just reboot it.
Get a good
just
movie.
redo it.
Well,
redo
no,
it with a little bit of Marvel.
No, just stop.
The idea would then be that Marvel and DC are under the same roof, not only in films but in comics, which means they would be.
That's a duplication of effort, and frankly, they'd probably merge the two into Marvel DC, and then we'd lose one.
We'd get Darvel or like
amalgam.
Yeah, we'd get it would be nothing but Dark Claw all the time. And well, I love that comic. No.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, play that out. All right, so Warner Brothers sells it. Disney picks it up. And the only reason why Disney would buy it is because they want the properties. They don't really care about DC. They would kill off that entire business and merge them into their existing property, i.e. Marvel. So Marvel would basically control Superman. That's exactly what's going to happen, because why would you own two companies doing the exact same thing? You wouldn't. That's stupid. That's a splitting of your revenue streams. You put them into one.
I don't see Disney buying them. I don't think it'd be a smart move for Disney anyway. I really don't.
CBS might buy it.
I wouldn't mind seeing Paramount or somebody pick it up.
I think Viacom, that would be a smart move for Viacom. Viacom owns Paramount, so yeah, that'd be, I think, a very smart move on Viacom's part if they actually decide to buy it.
Speaking of comics, the editor-in-chief of IDW has stepped down.
Oh, what did he do?
Nothing. He just wandered out. Chris Rydell, let's see, he just left.
Peace.
Wow. Chris has been there for a long time.
It says, let's see, I'm stepping, a tweet said the business of leaving a 14-year job eats up a lot of hours, so it seems sometimes word can leak out before there's time to announce it publicly. But it's true, I'm stepping aside from IDW. We'll announce things properly soon.
Wow.
Now, I mean, I read their Transformers books, their G.I. Joe books and stuff, so.
Oh, they lost me on the recent ones. I don't keep up with that anymore. I'm lost. So I moved on. Especially when they merged them to basically cross them to the two together, and I wasn't there for the merging, so yeah.
I really wish Marvel still had control of G.I. Joe at least.
Yeah.
I thought the Image books, when Image had G.I. Joe, I thought that was really well done.
IDW is doing the Masters of the Universe too, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yes.
They did a great job with those.
Well, they also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I believe, and they have a specific artist that I just love who predominantly does the work for Mutant Ninja Turtles, and also he's doing the second run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Batman crossover, which has been fantastic. I love the art style. The story's been great, and I wish I could think of who the artist is, but he's fantastic.
And John Samavera is the one guy I know who does it most of the time.
It might be that guy.
Okay.
I love it. It's kind of that sketchy look for the the lines, and then the coloring is this nice diffuse soft look that works well with those lines. Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. Every time I see it, it's like yoink.
Yoink.
I don't buy the main Mutant Ninja Turtles line, but for like the crossover books, yeah, that was mine. And they did the crossover of Thundercats and what was the other one? He-Man.
The He-Man one.
I bought those, especially because it was in the same style. I was like, mine?
So, okay. Well, I'm going to go back to. Well, first, we're jumping all over the place because I didn't talk about this. And I wanted to talk about this because we were talking about the Marvel films and all of our favorites and all that kind of stuff. Do you realize that since 2008, it is 2000? Yeah, it's 10 years now. Marvel has released 17 films and 7 series.
They've released a lot of stuff
in 10 years. We've had all of the Avengers and Marvel films, and then we've had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, The Inhumans, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders, and Punisher. That is a monstrous amount of production.
And Runaways.
I forgot about the Runaways.
Everybody forgets about the Runaways.
By the way, just real quick, I finished that show. It is freaking amazing.
I'm going to have to...
Absolutely
now
amazing.
I need Hulu.
I
don't have
loved it.
Hulu.
Absolutely adored that series. That was amazing. They did a really, really fantastic job with that.
Well, if they take it, the second round syndication, whatever, put that on Netflix, I'll probably watch it. I have no intention of getting another service, though.
Oh yeah, I'm just dreading the next season.
I just brought that up because Jessica Jones dropped today. It drops tomorrow. The second season.
It'll be on at 3 a.m.
Yeah, and let's see, Luke Cage is coming as well because they dropped a teaser for that, as well as Iron Fist. 22nd of what?
June.
What happened? I lost him.
He lit up. He's like, "Is it 22nd of what?"
June 22nd for season 2 of Luke Cage.
I'm looking forward to that one. Luke Cage was my favorite.
Oh my god! Have you guys seen the trailer for this Christopher Robin movie?
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday.
I so wanted Ewan McGregor to go, hello there.
I had no idea they were doing an adult Christopher Robin movie.
I had heard about it, but I didn't know Ewan McGregor was playing the adult Christopher Robin.
Aren't they doing it as a flashback thing, though?
No,
he reconnects with the characters as an adult.
The what was it when I was watching that?
And he gets to be married to Haley Atwell.
Oh hey!
Oh, lucky SOB.
The reviews for Wrinkle in Time came out, and it's not looking good for Disney on their live action films. It really isn't. It got a 48%. It's got a splat mark on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's not good. They just made from Black Panther. I don't think they're that concerned about it.
Probably. But I mean, it just goes to show that no matter what Disney does on a aside from their princess films, which have all been successes for them financially because of little girls.
Sure.
Maleficent was kind of okay. The Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, my 5-year-old daughter at the time, we walked out of the theaters and she looks at me and goes, "The cartoon was better, Daddy." But
my kid said that to me too.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like John Carter was one of their forays into it. Lone Ranger was another one, and they just fell flat. And now we've got another great science fiction book that's being adapted, and it's getting meh reviews. That it tries too hard and it fails. And it was like, okay. And now we've got the Christopher Robin one coming out. When they do that kind of stuff, maybe it'll work because, was it Saving Mr. Banks? The one they did about the Mary Poppins, the backstory, was a great movie.
I didn't see that movie. I have it, but I've never watched it.
Really,
and I really need to. I had heard that a lot of that, I mean, about 80 to 90% of it was a crock because, like, the lady who wrote Mary Poppins really hated Walt Disney, like, throughout the whole thing. I mean, never wanted to deal with him, but kind of had no choice. It was just bitchy about it the entire time.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, it was still a good drama film.
Sure. I mean, but I'd really like to see that story. I'd like to see her just be a raging bitch the entire time.
It really kind of was. The way she's portrayed in the movie, I mean, of course they do the Disney ending where she lightens up a little bit, but throughout the whole thing, she really is not happy about any of it. Oh, yeah.
I may have to actually watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it was not so over the top where she was like some raving lunatic, but I mean, she was a strict British woman who wasn't having it. It was her story, it was hers, and if she agreed, they had to follow her rules, and yet Disney did his thing. But I think it's hilarious that in my digital catalog I have of films, because I have it a digital, that it's right next to Saving Private Ryan. So I have Tom Hanks it's like Saving Mr. Banks, Saving Private Ryan, and Tom Hanks is there for both of them. But
you just gotta save people, man.
That's true.
Though I think there's fewer bullets involved in the second one.
True, the Saving Mr. Banks. But it was, I mean, Disney with their live action films has been touch and go all the way through, and this is just to get one more. I mean, they're really lucky to have the Marvel and Star Wars films.
Yeah.
That make billions of dollars for them Pixar as well. Their Pixar movies. Coco was an incredible film. I really wasn't sure about it. I watched it. I waited till I had it on Blu-ray. I watched the film all on my own. I went through and I watched the whole thing, and I was like, wow, that was a good movie.
And my daughters really liked Coco, and I wasn't sure if they were going to dig it at all. I've watched about minutes of it, and I liked what I saw, but I was like really busy when the kids were watching it, so I didn't really have a chance to sit down and watch it all. I'm going to try and maybe do it this weekend.
Again, thematically, it touches on things I was quite amazed Pixar went there, but it's still in the PG realm. I would not be afraid of my kids watching it, and I was like, okay, cool. But I mean, again, I am more. It's like, bring the Incredibles. I want the Incredibles 2. Screw the Avengers. Bring me the Incredibles.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I can't wait for Incredibles 2. That just I've been waiting for that movie way too long.
Of course, I'm gonna have this whole thing built up in my head, just like people did for The Last Jedi. I'm gonna be disappointed. I know I am.
Yeah, I like it with The Last Jedi, though. I don't understand people's gripes with it. I really don't. I hear them when they talk about it. I'm like, oh, really? That's what you're mad about?
Yeah, really.
We've discussed at least our personal thoughts on the matter. At least why people might be getting bent out of shape. We don't get into the very specific gripes because honestly, those kind of nitpicks are the same as Star Trek nitpicks. Everybody's got them. They're all over the place, and you'll never get rid of them, so we just move on.
Oh, yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Okay, here's one for you. My son picked up my copy of Dark Empire, and I forgot I had it here. I thought it was still in storage. My son picked it up, and he's flipping through, and he gets to the scene where Luke is facing down the AT-AT, and Luke takes the AT-AT down using the Force, and he goes, why didn't they do this at the end of the Last Jedi? And I was like, see, you're not the only one.
Honestly, we've said that multiple times. We all thought, he'd wipe his shoulder there and clunk dominoes on the AT-ATs. That's what I was hoping for.
I'm with you there. I thought that's what was going to happen too. He was just going to take them all out with like snapping his fingers basically at that point. But I still like that scene. I was genuinely surprised by it, and I was happy when it was over. Because I mean, when he brushed off his shoulder, cheered, and it's like after I heard that, and then after the movie ended, and one of the few times I've been in a theater and there was a standing ovation after the movie was over. I just couldn't figure out how people had issues with it.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the Mary Poppins scene? What has been dubbed the Mary Poppins scene?
Oh, in Guardians?
No, in Last Jedi. Leia's force ability to use the Force.
I'm okay with it. The only thing I'm not okay about that scene is the way they handled it. A superhero flying through space, and then there's no real explanation for the audience for it. Granted, all of us Star Wars fans know why and how she can do that, but I know a lot of regular audience folk who's not as into Star Wars as the rest of us are like, what in the hell just happened there?
Yeah, but at this point, everybody knows that Princess Leia is Luke Skywalker's sister.
Much that they just don't. I don't think it's they don't know that. I think they just don't know how attuned to the Force she is, as well as Luke.
True.
I think.
See, I cheered. It was one of the. I teared up a little bit. I was like, she's using the Force.
No, I thought that was great. The only, I think they should do a Princess Leia movie. I know Carrie's gone and it can't really be done. I mean, it could be done. They recast it. If they're going to recast, Harrison Ford for this Han Solo thing, they can recast Carrie Fisher.
They get they get the girl that plays 11 on Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
So far, they haven't said anything in regards to Carrie Fisher. The only official word we've got was that she will not be used in the last film. I mean, there was rumors, but they were in negotiation with the estate to maybe do some CG stuff, but there's nothing that actually officially supports that. And right now we don't even have Mark Hamill confirmed that he's coming back to be a Force Ghost.
He'll be a Force Ghost, and that's fine. I expect that. But what should have happened with Princess Leia is when she got sucked out into space like that, went out. Or actually, my friend Matt, I was talking to him this past weekend. Matt is probably the biggest Star Wars fan I know. Period. We were talking about the movie. Accepted. If you saw his Star Wars collection and what he has, I don't think you'd argue with me.
Does he know Han Solo's SAT scores? I know
it wouldn't surprise me. Adam, it wouldn't surprise me if he knew.
Okay.
But his wife, well, not the joke, but his wife's almost left him a couple of times because of his collection. But we got to talking about. I hadn't talked to him since the movie had come out. We started talking about it. I was like, so what'd you think? He goes, oh, I loved it and all this other stuff. And then we started talking about the whole in space thing. And he's like, what they should have had her do to get kind of Carrie out of the movie. He had said something of the way Laura Dern's character went out. Have her use her Force ability to save everybody else and sacrifice herself. Then that would have been the end of Princess Leia, and it would have been a noble thing to do, and she would have went out nobly, and I think that would have worked. And I kind of agreed. It's like, yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
The only problem with that is Carrie Fisher's death happened after the film was basically in the canon ready.
And that's the thing too. It's like they would have had to do so much rewrites and reshoots.
Yes,
that was the only hiccup, basically.
And it's a shame because again, when she used the Force and having read the books that went in between, and the fact that she was more in touch with it, and if you don't read the books, I know a lot of Star Wars fans don't. If you don't read the books that they throw in between the films. I'm 4 chapters into the Last Jedi novelization now, and they've already thrown in so much more in the book, and that wasn't in the film. And I was like, well, okay. And then there's a lot more exposition and stuff. So
I've been hearing when the DVD comes, there's going to be quite a few deleted scenes. So they showed one. I saw one on YouTube today or something that I really wish they had kept in. It was a fight between Finn and Phasma.
Yeah, Wolfie posted it in here.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet. I got to go watch it.
I saw it. I was like, why in the hell did this get cut? That was wonderful. To see what they actually cut out.
Well, I hate to say it and cut this short, but we're pushing the 2-hour mark right now.
Why?
It's 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 27 seconds. So I'm going. I have to do it, but since we are a Geek Easy, I have to call last call, guy.
Well, last call. I do have one quick thing. I did mention it early on that there was a Kickstarter that Jasco Games is putting on. It's going to be the Street Fighter the miniatures game, and if the miniatures that they're showing in their little video clip is what's actually going to be produced, holy crap! They are amazingly detailed. I have no idea how big they are, but apparently these are the same folks who made the Mega Man game, and the Mega Man game looks really good. And by my friend's account, because he bought it at Gen Con this past year, that he said the game is actually really well designed. So I imagine that they're going to make a pretty sweet game. I have no idea what you would, what kind of board game you'd do with guys who just fight each other, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a tournament thing. I'd be down. I see it as another money sink for me, for at least for a few of those minis, because oh my god, those minis do look amazing.
Anyone else?
So yeah, if you guys are interested, come April, there will be a deal for that, and I'll drop a link probably in our.
I've done enough talking today, so.
Oh, we at least have to have one little bit from you. If anybody contacts us, say before Diamond works it out, and they would like to actually get a book from you, what would be the easiest way to get from you?
Get me at Facebook. That's the easiest. You can also, once you get on my Facebook, I have a link to the Ironclad fan page, and please feel free to go there and join up. And I'm doing constant updates, more frequent updates, and plus I'm going to be giving away some art and stuff soon.
It's called the Ironclad fan page, right?
On the search bar, just type in Ironclad fan page, and it should be the very top result.
Sweet.
I'll also share the link to those of you who follow us on Facebook, you'll get the link.
It'll pop up on Twitter as well because they're connected. Wolfie, you got anything?
No, I don't think so.
I have one little thing, and it's more of a thought it's a outgoing thought. I was actually thinking about this today while driving home from the store. And don't ask me why it hit me. Actually, I know why it hit me in the head, because someone cut me off and I did the Obi-Wan hello there, because it was like he was right there. And I do it all the time, and my wife hates it. She's like, would you stop that? But at the end of Return of the Jedi, or actually, we learned in the prequels that Qui-Gon Jinn had taught Yoda how to be in touch with the Force, so when he died, he would be able to transition and still come back as a Force ghost. Yoda then told Obi-Wan about said trick, and he was able to come back as said Force ghost. How in the hell was Anakin Skywalker able to come back as a Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi if we were then told later in prequels that it had to be something that was taught? You couldn't just do it. And that's your thought, and I'd like to hear people's ideas on that later. Drop us a link, drop us something on Facebook or Twitter. But
cereal is a soup.
Cereal is not a soup. But I think we are. What that would be? What? Fortune cookie is not a cookie. It's a biscuit.
It's not even a biscuit.
It's crispy. It's a biscuit.
It's not a biscuit. Okay, now hold on. We'd have to clarify this. Are we going by biscuit by the British term of biscuit, or are we doing by British biscuit by the U.S. term? Because those are hugely different.
By British terms. It's crispy. It's a brisket.
It's a brisket.
It better not be a brisket.
Oh my lord!
Jeez, man, I'm missing out. I want the fortune cookie you get.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Okay, well, that's the end of the show, and we'll be back next week. We'll be probably talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s 100th episode, which airs on Friday. Supposedly it's got some big emotional thing going on, which I'm going to guess that Coulson dies, but that's
probably Rebels finale also.
Oh, and yes, we will talking about the Star Wars Rebels finale. Hopefully Tank will have caught up a little bit by then. Maybe.
I'm hoping to be done by then.
Yes, but Rebels finale, it was good. But yeah, we'll see you next week. And Greg, anytime you want to stop in, drop in. It's all good, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. It was great.
And I thank you. But without further ado, here's the closing credits. We'll see you guys next week.
And the ending credits need to lay off the beans.